Hey everyone, welcome back to another Jazz Drummer Q-Tip of the Week. If you're new, welcome. My name is Quincy Davis. Thank you so much for stopping by, and hopefully you'll enjoy this lesson enough to hit that like button and to subscribe and also leave a comment. I do try to get back to everybody who leaves a comment, so let me know what you thought of the lesson or any other thoughts you want to share. I'll get back to you, I promise. So before we jump into the lesson, I want to make sure you know about something that I'm doing for the very first time. Many of you have inquired and asked me about studying with me privately. And unfortunately, because of my time, I'm just a little too busy for that. But I am, however, offering an online group lesson. I'm doing that a couple weeks from now. And I'm offering lessons at the beginner level, intermediate level, and also at the advanced level at a fairly reasonable price, I think at least. So make sure you check that out. If you're interested, you got to sign up right away because spots are filling up. I think most of the intermediate spots are taken already. Maybe there's 2 or 3 left. There's a few more advanced level spots, and there's quite a few beginner spots. So if you're interested, you want to sign up right away so that you do not miss out on this group lesson. I also want to make sure you know about my digital download store that I started a few months ago. It's really exciting. There's a bunch of items there designed to specifically help you and me, us, drummers, in various ways. So you'll want to check that out. There's not a lot of items yet, but you'll want to check every couple weeks because I'll be putting some more things there. And that leads me to this lesson on the only way you ever have to practice. Now, as a professor teaching at one of the largest jazz schools in the world at the University of North Texas, go Eagles, I really should not be telling you this, okay? I really shouldn't. And I could lose my job. Hopefully I don't. Dean Richmond, hopefully you don't. But I'm going to be honest with you. I have to be honest with you, okay? As teachers, me included, we talk so much about technique and learning of rudiments and working on our coordination, right? And working on independence exercises, and all these things are super important. However, I want to tell you about the only way you ever have to practice. You ready? You want me to tell you? You've been very patient, so I'm going to tell you. It is to play along to recordings. Play along to recordings. That's it. And I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm watching this. I already knew that. I know you already knew that. At least most of you did. However, I want to make sure I emphasize the importance of it because most of our favorite drummers and musicians, not just limited to drummers, did exactly that. The bulk of their practicing, especially when they were younger, was just playing along to albums. And that includes playing along to jazz albums with drums and also playing along to drumless jazz albums. They're both really important and valuable. I want to give you about 7 benefits and reasons why you should be playing along to albums every day. Hey, make sure you stay to the end of this lesson because I'm going to give you some of my favorite albums to play along to. So you want to stay tuned for that. So reason number 1 is because you learn how to groove, and specifically you learn how to groove like the drummer on those recordings. And you learn it without even really trying to. You just kind of adapt and start to naturally imitate what you hear. So learn how to groove like the drummers you're playing along to. Reason number 2 is that you work on your time and you work on your feel. And these are 2 different things, and I'm going to prove it. I'd much rather be a drummer that has horrible time but with a great feel than a drummer with perfect time but a horrible feel. Now, obviously, I'd like to have great time and a great feel, but if I had to choose, it shows you that they are two different things, okay? So when you play along with recordings, you work on your time and you really work on your feel. Reason number 3 is that you start to understand how to interact with a band. I get a lot of questions. Hey, Quincy, how do I know how to interact with the band? How do I play with a piano player? How do I play with the horn player? Play along with recordings. That gives you all the answers that you'll ever need. Reason number 4 is that you start to pick up on jazz language. When you hear the drummer go bap, 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 boom, boom, bat, boom, bat, bat. You hear that stuff and you pick up on it, especially if you play with the same recordings, which I recommend. Play with the same recordings over and over and over so you can get the most out of it. So this is when you start to pick up on jazz language. Reason number 5 is that you learn tunes, right? When you're playing with different recordings and tracks, especially some of the more classic recordings, you learn those tunes. And before you know it, you're singing. Not only are you singing the melodies, but you'll probably start to be able to sing some of the solos, okay? That's another reason you start to understand solos better, right? Wow, there's so many things you can get out of this. So your tune list starts to build, get longer. Reason number 6 is that you start to understand better how to orchestrate. Whether you're orchestrating a solo, right, or you're orchestrating playing hits, or you're trying to understand how to play behind a melody, how to orchestrate your time behind a bass solo. There's so many ways of orchestrating that you pick up from playing along with albums and listening to what the drummer is doing. And that leads me to reason number 7, or 7. Which one do you do? Tell me in the comments below. 7? Is that you imitate, right? By virtue of you playing along with these recordings, you're naturally going to want to start to emulate and imitate these drummers. That's a good thing, right? That's the way you start to sound good, and you start to sound like you have some knowledge of the way it's supposed to sound, okay? So imitation is a huge reason why you should play along with recordings. Okay, so some of my favorite albums with drums include Miles Davis's Kind of Blue, of course, and all of his albums, including Steamin', right, Workin', Relaxin', and Cookin'. Classics. So much information to glean from those albums. I also love playing along with Art Blakey's Buhena's Delight. That's an incredible album. Of course, he had so many that you can just choose from, but I've played along to that one quite a bit. And another album, more recent, although it's fairly old at this point, it's from the 90s, is the album Lush Life by Joe Henderson with Greg Hutchinson on. Another one of my favorite albums to practice along with. Everyone's always looking for drumless backing tracks for jazz or drumless play-along tracks for jazz. And actually, there are some albums, some drumless jazz albums that you should check out and are great albums to play along to. So here are a few of my favorites. Ahmad Jamal's Chamber Music of the New Jazz. Great album to play along to. Another one is Stan Getz and the Oscar Peterson Trio. One of my favorites. I've played along to that album so much. Another one is more recent, but of course it's not recent at all. It's 30 years ago at this point. It's scary. Almost 30 years. The late great Roy Hargrove's album, Parker's Mood. Another wonderful album. Christian McBride on bass. You can't go wrong. Another one with Christian McBride on bass is Benny Green's album, These Are Soulful Days. So check those albums out. Again, I'm going to put a link down below with a more comprehensive list, and that's that. All right, so that is the lesson, and hopefully it encourages you to play along to albums as much as you can if you're not doing it already, because as you can see, there's so many amazing benefits to doing it. And of course, I'm not saying to disregard and to not work on the other things, because those things are absolutely vital and important. But this, playing along to albums, is incredibly beneficial to everything that we're doing, and it gives us a big picture view of our role as a drummer and what we're supposed to be doing in an ensemble. So I encourage you to play along with albums as much as you can. And until the next time, of course, I want you to practice hard, but make sure you practice smart. Okay? And I'll see you on the next lesson. Take care. Bye bye.